racism in this one. He dealt with segregation. So at this point in the unit plan, they were reading a play that they were almost finished with. There was one act left. The name escapes me now. I remember it being very long, the title.
For Carroll girls who have considered suicide when the rainbow was enough.
Yeah, that uplifting title. And yeah, so I figure we'll just start off with like a kind of group definition of what racism is, which I assume for people in graduate school shouldn't be too difficult. So I guess just starting off, how would you define racism?
Excluding others based on their race.
I personally consider it more about judgment necessarily about exclusion, because you can see people in a racist way without necessarily excluding them from something.
That's true. Anyone else? All right. So main activity for
not to belittle what.
Oh no. Okay. So for the activity part of mine, I'm gonna give you a couple of excerpts. One is from a short story called "Going to Meet the Man" by James Baldwin. It's a little bit heavy on the N-word, but it's probably the cleanest part of the story. I was able to get out of it without changing it. And the other one is "Bit Safer," excerpt from a letter from Birmingham jail by Martin Luther King Jr. And I guess in these, I want you to there's 5 people, so I guess just do a group of 2 and a group of 3. I just want you to go through each and just tackle how racism is approached in both of them, and as well as provide examples for how you feel it was approached by the narrator in both of them. And they're pretty short. It's only a 2-page excerpt each. Chris?
Thank you.
how's everyone doing with the reading so far? Are we more or less finished? Alright. So, how would you say Baldwin approaches racism in Going to Meet the Man? Yeah, the short story one. One that's not King.
I would say with blind ignorance.
Yes. Correct. I guess another thing you should know about this story is that, well, James Baldwin was African American. It's not just some crazy white guy writing a super racist short story. And King, how'd he approach it? This is practically a giveaway. Anyone?
Sorry about that. I'm just trying.
Oh, okay.
Because his file won't fit on here. I'm trying to figure out a way to get to him.
I mean, religion is certainly important to him.
Yes. Okay, now how about the other one? Baldwin makes reference to religion in his, but it's quite a different perspective. Like, the only thing they really seems like they might have common ground is that he says that, I guess God doesn't see color, yet half of his argument is about, oh, I'm doing God's work by keeping the black man in check while protecting white people. And King is essentially saying the complete opposite. He's saying, religion should be the reason you're not racist as opposed to a reason to justify it. So, he uses religion to justify views. And King uses it to test using religion. Another thing I wanted to talk about is the strength of authority figures in both of them. I don't know if they mention it in the short story here, but the character in this is a cop. He's a particularly racist Southern cop. Shortly before this part, he beats a black man nearly to death just for essentially talking back to him, and kind of informs his skewed kind of perspective here. That's one of, I guess, what were your thoughts on how authority figures are portrayed in both of these?
Well, doesn't Martin Luther King say that we should question authority?
Yes.
He says that we should question the church fathers or whatever.
And he also kind of lashes out at white preachers who condone using violent force to dissuade peaceful protesters. So, right. And what about Baldwin? What would you say about his perspective on it in Going to Meet the Man?
Just think the law is the law. You don't
Yeah.
question it. You just
Yeah.
uphold it.